Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sanjay. I'm a enterprise account executive in software. Basically just means I sell software to very large enterprises in the United States. And yeah, I know I haven't posted this channel in a while, but this channel moving forward, hopefully I'll be posting regularly, but it's dedicated to sales, entrepreneurship, navigating, the startup landscape. And yeah, for today's video, what I wanted to talk about is what is an account executive, right? Like, why does the job exist? What does a career path look like? What I do day to day when I say and tell people that, yes, I'm an AE in software, like, what does that actually mean? And hopefully coming out of this video, you'll have a good understanding of what I do day to day, but also if you're not in software sales, you'll understand like what the career looks like, maybe how you could potentially transition into a role as an account executive. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive right into it. Why does a company need account executives, right? Like, account executives are kind of the rock stars of the sales organization in the sense that they're responsible for finding net new business, pushing that business through the sales process and closing it. So typically what that looks like is you'll get a list of companies. They could be existing customers, they could be net new logos or brand new customers that aren't spending anything with your company. And your job is to go reach out to those folks, determine what their plans are, if they're running into any challenges, finding those new opportunities, and then pushing those opportunities and ultimately getting that customer or prospect to buy more software or your software for the first time. So that's really like why the role exists. Like, a lot of times, like, the company with the best product doesn't always win. It's the company with the best distribution or the best marketing and sales that ultimately gets the market share. So that's really what the account executive role, like why it exists in, I guess, the modern software landscape. And really the other piece is like, once that sale is made, that's really the first step in a relationship between two organizations. So an AE is usually responsible for the post-sale adoption. So once you've sold software, now you got to have someone to actually make sure that the customer uses the software, and so they don't, churn the next year or they continue to renew their contract. So that's usually where the AE kind of functions. They find new business, they close business, and ideally they grow those customers into larger consumers of your product. Also, the AE role is very client facing. So being an account executive, you are sometimes the face of a company to all your prospects and to all your customers. So if you look at a company like Google, right, it's this very esoteric, like, out there, like outlandish organization, but those sales reps are that liaison or the face of Google to the companies that they're selling into or the customers that they're responsible for managing the relationship. So that's really why the AE role really exists in most tech companies today. The second thing I wanted to touch a little bit more on is what the career path looks like for an account executive. There's really like three kind of branches you can go in. You can go down the individual contributor route. So typically most large organizations, they segment out their customers. So they segment it based on different factors. It can be a myriad of things. But typically how it's done is you'll have an SMB or small business team, then you have a mid-market team, and then you have an enterprise team. So if you want to just be an individual contributor, you climb your way up through the ranks where you might be working with, the best way to think about it is like a ratio. So when you're an SMB, it'll be one account executive working with maybe 100 customers. In mid-market, you're usually working with larger companies compared to SMB. So you might have a ratio of 1 to maybe 40 customers. And then when you're enterprise, you're working with some of the largest companies in whichever geography you're in. And so that could be a ratio of 1 to 10 customers or 10 accounts. And so if you go through that path, typically you're getting paid more, obviously, but you're also closing larger deals as well and working more complex deals and complex accounts. And so that's the track if you want to just stay an individual contributor, just working your way up through the segments of a sales org. The second track is the manager track. So depending on which segment you ultimately kind of land as an IC, you can go into managing a team. So you can be first line manager where you're responsible for 4, 8, how many of your sales reps roll up to you. Then you can kind of work your way up through the ranks, become a second line manager where you're managing the first line managers, basically like a regional director type role. Then you can go up to a VP of sales where you're looking at basically all sales roll up to you. And then ultimately you can become a CRO, which is like chief revenue officer, or you even see some sales move into the CEO position. They say sales is a great breeding ground for executives, specifically CEOs. So the CRO is responsible for sales, marketing, customer success, pre-sales engineering, all of that rolls up to the CRO. So that's kind of going down the management route. If you want to manage people and build processes and really go from being a closer to more of a teacher and a coach, that might be a good path for y'all. And then the third is really cross-functional. Sales gives you a lot of fundamental skills in how you can just become a better business person or more of an asset to a company. What I mean by that is, like, in selling, you really know how to ask good questions to understand the needs, understand the wants and the goals of customers. So it's a really good transition to move from, direct selling to maybe something like marketing, maybe something like customer success, where you're really looking at reducing the churn and growing customers and making sure they're adopting the product. You can even go into product management, because in product management, you're really working with a lot of internal teams, making sure that everyone is on the same page and really driving good outcomes for the product. You're also interviewing customers to make sure that the company's building a product that customers actually want to use. So there's a lot of cross-functional roles that the sales, like what you learn in sales, can eventually transfer over to. Yeah, last thing I want to talk about is what my average day looks like. First things first, coffee. I make sure I get some coffee in, make sure I walk the dog, unless my girlfriend walks him first. But after I do that, I check my email, make sure nothing's on fire, my customers are happy, I haven't pissed off any prospects, I haven't pissed off anyone internally, everyone at my organization is happy. And then really where I like to start my morning off with is what I call pipeline next steps. So the way I think about my business is I always want to focus on the most qualified deals or opportunities first, to make sure I bring a fresh mind in, make sure any deals that have momentum, I'm keeping that momentum. Any deals that have stalled, I know what to do to make sure, like, we're either qualifying them out of the pipeline or I'm progressing them back and getting the deals back on track. So I start the morning with working the most qualified deals and opportunities first. Next, I go into opening new pipeline or trying to find net new deals. So I set up some time, maybe an hour or 2 hours for pipeline generation. This is where I'm doing LinkedIn, phone calls, emails to either new contacts in my existing customer base or to net new contacts in new accounts, to find new projects and new opportunities there. And then right before I break for lunch, I typically do another email check or another kind of social media check, just to make sure no one's replied to my LinkedIn messages, no one's replied to my emails. So we use Outreach, so I don't really go into my inbox when I'm generating pipeline. I just execute all the tasks that I have in Outreach, which is a sales engagement platform. We'll talk a little more about tools in a separate video. I usually take a pretty good 30, 45 minute lunch. I try to disconnect. I cook lunch, and then I also try to walk my dog again so he gets out and about and he's not barking in the middle of the day. And then coming out of lunch is usually just customer meetings or internal meetings. So in the afternoon, that's where I usually have most of my customer meetings. I'll have internal meetings with my boss, forecast meetings with the senior leadership, or I'll have internal meetings with the ecosystem. So marketing, SDRs, customer success, pre-sales engineering, all those internal and customer meetings all typically happen in the afternoon for me. And then right before I log off for the day, I'll do a final email check. But then this is where I get to do the fun stuff, which is entering data into Salesforce, which is just, I'm sure every sales rep just absolutely loves that. But yeah, I'll make sure any updates that I have for my opportunities or contacts or accounts, I'll update them into Salesforce. While in my career, I did used to hate doing this, but I've realized how important it actually is to stay organized and on top of everything. So definitely keep that Salesforce hygiene going. But I usually do the Salesforce hygiene, and then the last thing I'll do is send any follow-up materials I need for the meetings with the customers that I've had or any internal meetings. I want to make sure I set that kind of at the last thing that I do before I log off for the day, because I don't really like doing it after the meeting itself, because it kind of throws my whole day off. It kind of loses momentum for other tasks, or I don't get a good buffer between meetings. So right before I finish up the day, I'll send all the follow-up items and kind of follow-up emails to to customers that I've met with that day or anyone internally that I need to get back to on an action item. And then, yeah, I typically log off around like 6 p.m. my time, and then walk the dog again, and then just relax for the rest of the night. Well, y'all, that's the video for today. Hopefully you found some insight into what an account executive does. If you do have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I'm going to start posting regularly on this channel, so please subscribe. I'm going to be talking more about sales, entrepreneurship, startup life. And yeah, please like the video as well. Apparently that really helps the YouTube algorithm based on what I've read. But yeah, thanks for the time, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, y'all. Bye.